Hello, Indiana here with another episode of the Star Wars podcast where I am reviewing Vonda N. Mcintyre's book, The Crystal Star. And by the way, this may have spoilers in it for you. So let's just get to the beginning. The setting of this book is 10 years after Return of the Jedi, and Leia starts out on Monto Kodru, and Luke and Han are going to Crash Station. So Crash Station is in like a system with like a black hole in it, and it has a dying star that's turning into a crystal and slowly falling into the black hole, and it's like freezing to death basically. Unlike most stars burn to death. So that's kind of where we are. And Crash Station is like a imperial station that can like move around, kind of like the Death Star, but it doesn't have like Death Star powers or anything. It's just kind of like a man-made world. So let's get to it. Uh, what did I thought of the book? I thought the book was simple. It was okay. Not my favorite Star Wars story ever. For a normal story, it it was pretty good, I guess. I kind I kind of looked at this story not completely as Star Wars. It didn't necessarily have that Star Wars feel. I still liked the book, and it was obviously using stuff from Star Wars. It just didn't feel like Star Wars always. Like, guy pulls out a lightsaber, it's Star Wars. But the bad guys, though the one of the bad guys was kind of Sith like, it just it was just different, I guess is the way to put it. I didn't look at completely as I did Heritage Empire or Crucible, where it had these epic villains that you could just tell these were Star Wars stuff. It had a different feel to it. That's the way I'm going to put it. But I like the author's writing style. That may have been why it felt different, but I did like the writing style a little bit. I don't always want to read that writing style, but I enjoyed it. It was nice and simple paragraphs, uh, which made it real quick to kind of run through a chapter, even though the chapter was 30 pages long. This book was about 413 pages with only 13 chapters, so each chapter is rather longer than your average chapter, but due to the simple writing style, the book goes a little quicker than a normal Star Wars book. So let's get to the bad guys. The bad guys were Lord Hethrir and Waru. Lord Hethrir was an imperial procurator from who was able to escape the fall of the empire due to his large monetary resources. He was able to kind of form his own empire. He was calling it the Empire Reborn, and he was trying to rebuild the empire in his own eyes and become the new emperor of sorts. And he was a Force user and to an extent a Sith because he had worked with the Vader for a while to help increase his powers, and he's married to another character who's good named Rilau, something like that. And both Hethrir and her are Firarios. Anyways, and he had destroyed their home planet in order to prove himself to the Emperor. The other one is Waru, who's a strange, like, box-like being with, like, scales and golden fluid oozing out of him, who has the power to heal or kill beings. And he is trying to return home. And he often kills Force users to try to return home, but he can only return home with a strong Force user like Anakin, Solo, or Luke Skywalker, or Hethrir. But both Waru and Hethrir are kind of allied, but in the end, Waru ends up killing Hethrir so he can get home. So, anyways, but the story, in a way, like the villains are based on Waru being this weird, mysterious figure that they have no idea what his real intentions are. And this is the villain that Han Solo and Luke Skywalker and Han Solo's old friend Xavier are put up against. Meanwhile, Gianna Solo, Jason Solo, Anakin Solo, and Leia indirectly, and Lau also indirectly are kind of put up against Hethrir until the very end, where all these characters are both against both the main bad guys, Hethrir and Waru. But then, as I said, Waru turns on Hethrir in order to return home because Hethrir has force power and he wasn't able to use any of the others as they escaped his grasp. Another important character in the book is actually Tigris, who is Hethrir's son. And Tigris often follows Hethrir's order and whatnot, is trying not to show weakness to Hethrir. And the reason Hethrir doesn't like Tigris is because Tigris can't use the Force, unlike him, or unlike Hethrir himself or any of the other people is brought over, but it's his son, so he's not necessarily going to cast him aside, He's just trying to guide him along, but he doesn't completely like him because he doesn't have the Force. So and Tigris is one of the characters that we often see from his viewpoint. Also, unlike most Star Wars books, this one's not as jumpy as from going from different characters' point of views, since we're on Tigris, and it doesn't switch. It switched several times in a chapter, but it doesn't necessarily always switch 2 pages into the view. It only does it every now and then, and it's a very clean change often, and the characters' viewpoints often very simple to tell which character is speaking. And the characters that are always going to speak in this book are going to be Han Solo, Leia, Tigris, and Gianna Solo. Leia and Han's son, not son, daughter. So, yeah, that's the basics to the book. And the basic storyline of the book is Gianna, Jason, Anakin are stolen from Leia and taken to Hethrir's base where they're treated badly, and there's this dragon. They escape, and eventually Leia, during her search for them, runs into Rialu at Escape Junction where R2D2 had taken her. Well, not Escape Junction, but this place where there's a bunch of ships, and she explores one of the ships. Rialu's there. There's a weird man there, and she takes Rialu with her and speaks to him, finds out where they are. Meanwhile, Han Solo and Luke go to Crash Station and have a couple go Waru's place a couple times, and Han Solo's having to make money off gambling because he can't use his resources card and whatnot. And eventually, Hethrir takes Anakin to Waru in order to try to gain Force powers from Waru. And he's a sort of, I forgot the word, it starts with B, but he's sort of sacrificed to Waru. So, and all of Hethrir's minions and whatnot are there. Once Hethrir dies, all his minions are kind of crazy and whatnot. The very end, the crystal star goes in the black hole, and it's completely a crystal now, and it explodes, destroying the system, and all our heroes escape from the system. So that's the basics to the book. If any of y'all have read the book, let me know what you thought of it. And This is Indiana signing out. See you guys later. Bye.